What's going on, guys? This is Ryan with the RK Outpost, and despite the fact that The Batman is the #1 movie in the world right now, making $250 million at the box office opening weekend, even though it's been loved by the critics and most audiences have also been really enjoying The Batman, that isn't quite enough to let someone forget about their supposed victimhood. Somebody associated with The Batman who, ironically, given the words that were used in this movie, lived a very privileged life, is saying that it just wasn't fair what's happened to her in the past. And that person, of course, is Zoe Kravitz. And the statements that we're going to go through and the way that she approaches them just further goes to show why so many people are really tired of Hollywood, really tired of celebrities, because they're so out of touch with everyday people, especially when you're someone who's grown up the way that Zoe Kravitz has. But let's get into this. The Batman actress Zoe Kravitz accuses Californians of racism, says she was rejected from Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight Rises because of her skin color. So despite the fact that she is playing Catwoman, and despite the fact that there's a very high likelihood that that's because of the way that she looks, considering all of the reports that were out there before she was cast as Catwoman, Matt Reeves eyeing POC actress for Catwoman in Robert Pattinson's The Batman, and then what do you know, that's exactly what we ended up getting, who delivers a white privilege line. Despite all of that, Zoe Kravitz is very upset because she thinks that someone didn't give her the role because of racism. Let's get into this. The Batman actress Zoe Kravitz recently claimed she was rejected from a role in Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight Rises film due to her skin color. Now, in the interview that we're gonna be talking about today, she doesn't specify what role it is. I think there's some people that are assuming it was the role of Catwoman. I don't really think that's the case. She just said a role, so I feel like she would have specified Catwoman if that was the case, but just to point that out. In a wide-ranging interview with The Guardian, Kravitz discussed rejection and the advice she received from her mother, Lisa Bonet. And before we even get into this, I think Gary made a really good point. Pray for Zoe Kravitz. She has it so hard. Her parents combined didn't have a net worth over $100 million. And of course, that's true. They only have a net worth of approximately $90 million between Lenny Kravitz and Lisa Bonet. It must have been a real struggle for her growing up. She would tell The Guardian, even though it's sometimes hard to see in the moment, usually a few years later, you're like, okay, this is why this didn't happen. Specifically, she would reveal she was rejected from a role in Nolan's The Dark Knight Rises, telling the British outlet, "I don't know if it came directly from Chris Nolan. I think it was probably a casting director of some kind or a casting director's assistant. Being a woman of color and being an actor and being told at the same time I wasn't able to read because of the color of my skin, and the word urban being thrown around like that, that was really hard about that moment." Again, this is fairly ironic considering Matt Reeves went out specifically trying to cast a person of color, not only for Catwoman, but also for Jim Gordon. If you remember back to these rumors 2 or 3 years ago, that's what was out there, that Matt Reeves was specifically looking for people of color, and that Jeffrey Wright wasn't his first choice. It was actually Mahershala Ali. When that didn't work, he went after Jeffrey Wright, and that's who he got to play Jim Gordon. A lot of people like to believe that it's just, well, the best person for the job, regardless of what they look like. Casting calls want people to look a certain way. That's always the way it's been. That's always the way it will be for every single role. So don't try to trick yourselves into thinking, well, if this person got the role, it must just be because they're the best person for the job or whatever. No, they want them to look a certain way. In fact, Matt Reeves even described what he wanted as a Zoe Kravitz-esque person. If we go back to this, I think it even says that in this article. The search is officially underway for the next Catwoman. The Batman helmer Matt Reeves is putting some feelers out for a woman of color for the role of the femme fatale. One source tells us Matt Reeves wants a Zoe Kravitz-type actress to play Catwoman, meaning whoever's cast will likely be black or biracial. Zoe Kravitz was the actual choice / prototype for the Catwoman role, but the actress is not available due to her busy schedule. He specifically wanted someone that looked like Zoe Kravitz. That's what he wanted. Now, obviously, things cleared up. The film got shifted back a little bit. She was able to do the filming. He got who he wanted. That's how it works, apparently, in Hollywood. Not only did she claim she was rejected from the role in The Dark Knight Rises, but she also claimed all the scripts being sent were about the first black woman to make a muffin or something. Even though those stories are important, I also want to open things up for myself as an artist. Kravitz would then go on to accuse people who live near the set location of Big Little Lies as racists. She told The Guardian, "There were a few moments where I felt a little uncomfortable because it's such a white area." Just for a second, especially with all the backlash that's been out there over my review of the Batman, imagine if I said that, but said a black neighborhood or a black area. Imagine the backlash. But no, this is fine. Zoe Kravitz is allowed to say that. That's fine for Zoe Kravitz. She then explained what made her uncomfortable. Just weird racist people in bars and things like that. Again, a very rough life, a very rough life. You should feel bad for Zoe Kravitz. Part of, again, the #1 movie in the world. A lot of people are praising her in the role as Catwoman, myself included. Myself included if you go back to my review, but nonetheless, you need to feel bad. The Catwoman actress would also discuss her own heritage, that she had trouble with her own identity when she was younger. I felt insecure about my hair, relaxing it, putting chemicals in it, plucking my eyebrows really thin. I was uncomfortable with my blackness. It took me a long time to not only accept it, but to love it and want to scream it from the rooftops. And she talks about her grandmother and the Jeffersons TV show and how important that was. She would make sure that her parents never warned me or anything. I think they were more focused on trying to make sure I understood, despite the color of my skin, I should be able to act or dress or do whatever it is I want to do. Kravitz stars as the Catwoman in The Batman. What do you make of her accusations of racism and her claim she was rejected from Nolan's The Dark Knight Rising because of her skin color? Now, when it comes to all these people are just racist in this area in California, yeah, I'm sure. Again, if I said something like that, imagine the fucking backlash. When it comes to Nolan and The Dark Knight Rises, she's like, oh, I don't think it came from Christopher Nolan, probably just a production. But that still is casting an aspersion. You don't think Christopher Nolan's going to be asked about something like that? With all of that being said, I have no idea what the role is they were looking for. If the role that they were looking to fill was maybe some like blonde bimbo role or whatever, then maybe they were like, no, you're not exactly what we're looking for in that. That happens in Hollywood. In the same time, if you're making a biopic about LeBron James, would you really be surprised if when Ryan Reynolds goes and tries to audition for LeBron James that doesn't happen? They say, no, Ryan, you're actually not what we're looking for in this LeBron James biopic to play LeBron James. With all of that said, I am far more likely to believe that she's just making all this shit up for attention, to be quite honest with you. Based on how she's reacted, based on some of the things she said in a lot of interviews we've watched, yeah, I think she's just trying to make people feel bad for her and feel like she was left out of a role because of the color of her skin. Either way, it just goes to show how out of touch these people are. She grew up, again, tens of millions of dollars, super privileged, and is sitting here complaining about so many different things leading up to her starring in this movie. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.